Hey Awana, Mr. Howard here, welcoming you back for week 3 of our Bible Challenge time. Before we begin, I want to give a quick shout out to Clara Howard, Connor Hinkies, Lily Canettle, and Annalisa Malatek for getting the correct answer last week. Before we proceed, let's review what we talked about last week. All right, so we saw that the Israelites had fled Egypt, were wandering in the wilderness for 3 days, and they were hungry and tired, and they were looking for water. The only water they could find was very bitter and nasty. One might even say kind of like a sulfuric, very salty. All right. So God told Moses to throw something into the water to make it fit to drink, and the answer was wood. He told them to throw wood into the water to make it fit to drink. Well, today's challenge is going to take us into the book of Joshua. We're going to skip ahead a couple of books. All right, you can find Joshua in the Old Testament between Deuteronomy and Judges. Okay, so let me set the stage for you. After wandering in the desert for 40 years, that's like, I'm 40 years old. That's my entire lifetime. The Israelites were finally allowed to approach the boundary of the Promised Land. Their great leader Moses, he died. All right, and God has transferred power to Moses' successor. All right, someone to follow Moses. What was that guy's name again? Joshua. It was Joshua. All right, so before invading the hostile land of Canaan, Joshua had sent out 2 spies to scout their enemy. Now, we're not going to touch a whole lot on that one because that's a story in itself. And if you want to read that story, you can in Joshua chapter 2. All right. Before the Israelites could cross into the Promised Land, Joshua ordered the people to cleanse themselves. Take a bath. Wash your clothes. Spiritual purity. Clean yourself. Get right with God before we enter into the Promised Land. The next day, he assembled the entire nation of Israel behind the Ark of the Covenant. For those of you that don't know, the Ark of the Covenant was the box or the carrying vessel that held the 10 Commandments. All right, the commandments that God handed down to Moses for Israel. So this box has the 10 Commandments in it, and a half a mile behind that, you see the nation of Israel. All right. He told the Levi priests to carry the ark to the Jordan River. Now, before we get going a little further, I want to let you know the Jordan River, okay? The Jordan River is over 223 miles long, roughly 100 feet wide, and in most places, typically between 3 to 10 feet deep. So that's about as deep as a swimming pool. All right, you go into the shallow end, 3 feet. You go to the deep end, about 10 feet. So it's like, like a river. All right. It's very similar in size to the San Antonio River that flows from just north of San Antonio through Goliad out to the Gulf of Mexico. All right. So, however, this time going through the Jordan, the Israelites couldn't cross because the water was swollen. It was treacherous. It was overflowing at its banks. It was flooding. It was flooding, not because of the rain, but because the snow had started to melt on Mount Hermon. And Mount Hermon, well, that's near Syria. Okay? As soon as the priests had waded into the water with the ark, the water stopped. It quit flowing. It wasn't moving. And it piled up in a heap. All right? A heap, like a big wall of water. Not just where they were at, but 20 miles north of their location. All right? In what was a little village called Adam. So 20 miles to the north, the water has stopped. Okay? Not only did it stop there, but it stopped to the south. It wasn't flowing to the south. It stopped. The priests waded out to the middle of the riverbed with the ark, while the entire nation crossed over on dry ground. Now let me say this again. Dry ground. Not wet, not muddy, not moist. Dry ground. It was completely dry. They were walking on dry land. This was land that just moments before had water flowing over it, and it was dry. So the Lord commanded Joshua to have 12 men, one from each of the 12 tribes, pick up a stone from the center of the riverbed. Once everyone had crossed, the priests with the ark came out of the riverbed, and as soon as they were safe on dry land, the waters from the Jordan rushed back in. They came flowing back, and the river was back to the way it was before they tried to cross. Now, I think we heard something like this last week with the Red Sea. You see, this is the second time that God has parted the waters for the nation of Israel. He did it as they were fleeing Egypt and the Red Sea with Moses, and he's done this now as they're entering into the Promised Land with Joshua. Okay, so here's where our question for the week is found. It can be found in Joshua chapter 4. Okay, when God cut off the flow of water to the Jordan, what did Joshua use to set up a memorial? Okay, so the Israelites have crossed. Joshua was wanting to remember and memorialize this occasion. So what did he use to set up a memorial? All right, so read chapter 4, answer your question into the form next to this video. All right, and I'll be announcing next week all the names of the people who got the correct answer. All right, and remember, those of you that get the most correct answers at the end of our little Bible challenge, which we've still got some ways to go, will win a little something special from us here at First Baptist Church Goliad. All right, so once again, to recap the question, when God cut off the flow of water to the Jordan, what did Joshua use to set up a memorial? All right, so it's been good to be with you. And to quote my favorite vegetables, Bob the tomato and Larry the cucumber, remember that God made you special, and he loves you very much. God bless and stay safe.